Welcome to Shooting Straight with Brad and David. I'm David Clouse, your Navajo County Sheriff.
And I'm Brad Carlyon, your Navajo County Attorney.
And this month we have another special guest, Don Wilson. Don is the coordinator for the Navajo County Criminal Justice Coordinating Council.
Yes.
I got it right.
You got it right.
It's a mouthful.
It is. And Don, you've joined us before, and welcome back, and thank you for joining us. So tell us a little bit about the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council briefly, and then we'll talk about some exciting things that you've helped bring to pass since you've last were here.
Well, our coordinating council is made up of a number of county government entities, such as our county attorney, our probation, our public defender, our judges, our jail, our sheriff's office, our behavioral health providers, our regional behavioral health providers. It's a group of people, and we all work together, and we all have the same common goal, and that is to help divert the mentally ill and substance abuse individuals out of the criminal justice system and into treatment. And that's what our goal is. And so we work on a couple different models that I'm sure we might be discussing today.
Yeah. But you've talked about some of the progress that we've made in that area. But what's exciting is a couple of grants and initiatives that you've been able to get for Navajo County to help us along the way. Can you just tell us what those two are?
Absolutely. So we just recently got the Convening County Courts and Justice Leaders Initiative. It's about a $30,000 value. And what's really exciting about it is that we get some professional guidance and support. We get technical assistance, and they're going to teach us really how to collaborate with our stakeholders, with community behavioral health members, how to collect data, how to share that data, and just take us through every step of evaluating our county and seeing where our gaps are. You know, identifying those gaps, identifying opportunities for improvement, and just helping us create a plan.
Is that the SAMHSA one?
That one is actually our NACO, our National Association of Counties. That one, what is neat about that is it is a nationwide initiative, but they've only selected 5 counties at this point. We are one of 5 counties in the nation who received this.
There's over 3,400 counties in the nation.
Yeah, and they will be selecting 5 more, but that's it. Only 10 counties get this, and Navajo County is one of those 5.
And what are some of the things we're looking for from, and I'll just call it the NACO initiative? What are some of the things that we're hoping to get out of that here in Navajo County? Well,
for us, our local goals are to establish some law enforcement diversion programs, establish a system for data sharing and data collection, really expand our court diversion programs, and expand just our communication and sharing with all the entities that we have and all our stakeholders.
Before we get David to talk about the law enforcement diversions, let's talk about the SAMHSA grant too, and how the two will kind of really go hand in hand with each other.
Right. And, one of the things that I want to say is one of the most important things in county government is keeping our communities safe and secure. And in order to do that, we are working through what they call the SIM model, and that's the sequential intercept model. And that is a mapping model which allows us to take an individual from the beginning of their contacts with law enforcement and work them all the way through from jail to the courts to reentry and so on. And we received a SIM mapping grant, and it was in the amount of $25,000 in training. And so this mapping grant is going to allow for them to give us professional training in all these different areas and map out smaller sections of this model so we can identify what our needs are here locally. So we might first talk about crisis. When somebody's in crisis, whether they're in crisis before a law enforcement contact or after a law enforcement contact, it's going to show us what we should be doing and how our system should work. And it takes us to when they get booked into jail. If they get booked into jail, we're hoping to divert them before that, if they qualify for that. If they do go into jail, now can we put them into a mental health court of some form? Whether it be a rehabilitation court, whether it be a veterans court, a drug court, it takes us through that. And it also helps us with reentry and helps us, since we last talked, we have 2 jail coordinators now that help to do reentry plans for people entering the community. Because our ultimate goal is to get them treatment and get them back to being a productive citizen in our county.
And all these things you talked about are things that we've been working on as a criminal justice coordinating council, but now we got outside professional help, and we're not trying to reinvent that wheel. We're getting some of the best ideas from across the nation to see if we can implement them here. And one of those is that intercept step 1, the initial law enforcement contact. And I know, David, one of your big priorities has been the law enforcement diversions. What exactly is a law enforcement diversion, and how do you see it tying into this?
Yeah, so I mean, going back, not to answer your question, but in the shortest possible way, Don, you talk about this council, and you brought up all these different people that have a seat at the stakeholders that have a seat at the table, right? From the whole points of contact. We, as law enforcement, generally have that first contact. Not every time, but sometimes we're the first one. And it's usually our deputies and our police officers and
your dispatchers.
And our dispatchers.
Yes.
They have this, and our detention officers, maybe after they've had contact in the field, then they have them in there, and then they also play a vital role in it as well. So I've been looking at this from several different angles. I look at the employment problem, okay, the lack of people in the workforce, right? Sometimes it's because of choice, other times it's because of criminal history, or sometimes it's because of past fines and they just don't have a driver's license, or they don't have transportation, or they different reasons that's holding them back. And we are called, and I say we, law enforcement's called to certain situations because there's a problem, and they're looking for someone to help solve this issue. Oftentimes it's a problem that needs to be resolved in court. Other times it needs to be resolved in the home. Other times we can probably come up with a solution right there at the table. And one of the things that I reflect back on my career, so many times we've had small criminal acts. They're criminal acts, and we're not going to hide behind that. But the victim and parents or others involved say, yes, this is a problem, but I don't want to have to go through the long process of the criminal justice system, going through the courts and going, with the different delays that may happen. Right. I want to teach this juvenile, or I want to teach this individual something. I want them to learn a lesson, and I also want them to, restitution, different things like that. How can we solve that problem without getting drug out into the courts? And I've talked to other sheriffs and other police chiefs and county attorneys across the state of Arizona, where they've found different ways of trying to do some pre-arrest diversions, where it's possible, where all parties involved agree upon that, and that being the fact that you have a crime, say less than $1,000 in criminal damage. Everybody admits fault or guilt in it and says, hey, I'll agree to, repairing, paying back. But in addition to that, what can we help teach them about being more responsible? And going back to what you said, Dawn, what you said about being a productive member of society.
Yes. And
where they start learning those types of lessons. So this diversion program that I am interested in doing is, meeting those demands of what the victim may be at loss for restitution, but also teaching them to say, hey, we're going to keep you out of the criminal justice system in hopes that you go find employment, in hopes that you go get higher education or finish your high school education. Stay away from substance abuses if that's a problem, and then also teaching them job skills, life skills, and then where they demonstrate and they apply those things, complete those different tasks, and then prove to themselves and prove to the victim and prove to their parents that they can meet those needs and then continue pushing forward.
Absolutely. And you know that we have resources out there in our community. Our own community has resources to help people to get the jobs, to get food, to get them on the right track. So we have that here.
We do. And a lot of it is built on a lot of volunteers and a lot of private organizations that, believe it or not, there's quite a few out there that are looking how they can help.
Absolutely.
We have the first contact. I say we, everyone around the Criminal Justice Council, we have those contacts with those people in the community. I would like to find a way, and with everybody involved, we're going to find a way where we can funnel these to these different resources.
And there's still consequences and to what they do.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big areas, Don, and you made a mention of another one, which is, I think, Intercept 3, which is in the jail that we've made some progress with the behavioral health people in there, but we still have a little bit of that issue upon reentry when they're released. What are we looking under these grants and initiatives to be able to help address those issues, and how?
Well, okay, so people getting out of the jail and getting into reentering back into society, what we really need to do is we need to look at how we can help our reentry programs expand, for one. You
say expand, which means we have something.
We do. We have the Recenter up in Pinetop Lakeside is an organization that helps to take these people from the door of the jail and back over. They find them housing, they find them jobs, they find them food, they help get their services. If they need Social Security, if they need to get on access, any of those services, they can help them do that.
But I know they're looking for, I think there were sponsors or advocates. They need more. Mentors,
yes,
and
sponsors, anybody that can help, because right now they're kind of limited as to what they can take. They are taking some people out of our drug court right now to help them, but they really need more people in order to expand more North County.
Correct.
They're primarily South County right now.
And one of the big problems that we have are those with mental health and substance abuse, that there's that gap between release and getting into services that can lapse. And that's part of what we're looking to address with this, is what some people call a warm handoff, so that they don't get lost in the middle.
Well, since we were here last, we've gotten the jail coordinators that Community Bridges provides in our jail. And those jail coordinators are trying to reach everybody. And sometimes they can't reach everybody. Some people are in and out right away, but they're trying to do whatever they can to help these people to have that warm handoff, so that they don't have a gap in services. Because historically, somebody goes to jail and all their services are cut off. And now we're trying to work hard to get them, to divert them from that, so that they don't have to go without their medications and without those services.
And their counseling.
Quite
often.
Absolutely.
Which kind of feeds into the specialty courts that you talked about. What are we looking to get from the initiative and grants in that area? Because you mentioned we already have drug court, we already have veterans court. Are there still gaps that we need to address?
There is, because we do not have currently a mental health rehabilitation or behavioral health court, and that would be one that we want. But these initiatives will connect us with other agencies across the United States to see what they're doing and what their process is and what their specialty courts do. And somebody may have that type of specialty court that fits our needs. And we can look at them as our role, model, and see how they've set it up and get that implemented. Currently, we have the Winslow pilot program, which will take people and give them that option, those who qualify, give them that option to go into treatment versus going into the system. And we'd like to see, that in other cities as well in Navajo County.
And it seems like the timing for this is just very good for us, because as we talked about the law enforcement diversions, a state agency just got a big national grant to help local, municipal, and county law enforcement do these diversions. So that was a good timing on our part to get this to help, one, get us to develop a program without reinventing the wheel, but then help to fund some of the stuff you need to get it off the ground.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the Convening County Courts and Justice Initiative and the SIM Mapping Workshop, they're really similar. And I think that both of them can help us with the other, if that makes sense. we're learning from one, but we're learning from the other, and we can integrate them into both. And I think that it's just amazing. And then, like you said, with the funding, that should kind of help us skyrocket into some of these programs.
And you talked about data collection and data sharing. Why is that important?
It's important because we need to know where our gaps are. We need to know, like I can tell you, we have 718 seriously mentally ill individuals in our county. And that's our current number as of last week.
Can we tell how many are in the criminal justice system?
I can tell you that at any given time, we have at least 4 seriously mentally ill individuals in our jail. We've had as many as 8 in a week, and we've had as little as 2 in a week. But normally we have on average about 4 in 1 week. And so we need to know why we have them in jail. Where did the system fail them? You know, so we can use this to identify that gap and maybe get them that treatment to keep that recidivism rate lower.
Go ahead, Dave.
And say if you start, and with these specialty courts, I think the data collections too, are we going to see reduction in that? Are we going to see an increase? You know, is this specialty court working?
Right.
And those types of
Not
things.
only that, but your diversions, my diversion programs, is it worth the money we're putting in? Do we get that return on investment?
And then,
Right.
of course, the jail population, are we seeing an increase of that? Are we addressing that properly? Or, I mean, there's so much to
and
it.
I get no data on who's got behavioral health, so I can't identify who I'm prosecuting that has those to help craft probation terms or decide if they should go in a mental health court without that kind of data.
Right. If we can figure out and we can find out through these 2 programs how to actually assess that and collect that, it would help us to really understand how to, how we're doing and what we can do better.
And unfortunately, we barely touched these topics, and our time is up. And we want to thank you for joining us for this month with Shooting Straight with Brad and David. And please stay tuned for this month's Most Wanted.
David Kent Thomas has several valid and confirmed felony warrants for failure to appear. David's last known address was Winslow, Arizona. If you have any information on the whereabouts of David, please call Navajo County Communications Center at 928-524-4050. Or to remain anonymous, please call WeTip at 1-800-78-CRIME.